Hi, I'm Kelly Chase and this is History Detective, and today I'm looking at the building featured on the $5 note, New Parliament House, and the protests that people have done out the front of New Parliament House. The New Parliament House was officially opened by Queen Elizabeth II in 1988. The reason Australia needed a new Parliament House building was that the government had literally grown out of the old building. They were squished in there like sardines, and so the mammoth new structure was built. Today I'm not concerned with what goes on inside the building, but I want to look at the thousands of people who have gathered outside the building to exercise their democratic right to hold a peaceful protest. Australians have the right to engage in peaceful protest, and what better place to exercise this right than Parliament House? If you do decide to hold a protest for a cause that you passionately believe in, it is not just a matter of putting out a call on your socials and rocking up in huge groups. There is actually a process. There's a PDF with guidelines and an application form on the Parliament House website. Some of the rules include no selling of food, no vandalism of property, no cars, and you are not allowed to fly a drone. You can, however, set up a sound system, but the speakers must be facing away from the building. The reason that it's okay to protest at Parliament House is that it is a building designed for the people. The parliamentary zone in Canberra belongs to the people. If you have ever seen the building, you'll know that the building is actually nestled in a hill and the roof of the Parliament House is covered in grass. In fact, until 2017, people used to be able to walk up over the building. Now there are fences to stop this, and if you want to go onto the roof, you have to catch the lift up from inside. One of the contributing factors to this fence being built was the actions of protesters. In 2016, protesters were opposed to the treatment of refugees in offshore detention camps. One group jumped into the fountain out the front and filled it with red dye as a symbol of the blood spilled in refugee camps. And two protesters abseiled down the front of the building and unfurled a giant banner. It was that very same day that the House of Representatives passed a proposal to upgrade security. This wasn't the only protest that involved abseiling. In 2002, members of the Greenpeace organisation, in a protest about the Australian government not signing the Kyoto Protocol about global warming, 3 people tried to climb the 101-metre flagpole. But because it was an incredibly windy day, after about 2.5 hours, they had only made it up one of the 4 legs. One protester then abseiled down the front to unfurl the banner before packing up and getting ready to be arrested. New Parliament House opened in 1988, and one of the very first protests that happened there was by the catering staff who worked inside. They had been told that the catering was going to be privatised and they were all going to lose their jobs. They blocked access to the roads so that no food or drink could get in, and the politicians had to get out of their cars and walk into the building. A few months later, new caterers were brought in, and the protesting caterers lost a court case to get their old jobs back. A more recent protest that occurred at Parliament House, and in fact all around the world, was the students striking for climate change. In 2018, students from all over Australia congregated in Canberra to demand politicians take their future seriously and treat climate change as what it is, a crisis. Their demands were simple: no new coal, gas or oil projects, 100% renewable energy, and creating a fair transition for workers in the fossil fuel industry. When Prime Minister Scott Morrison was asked if he would meet with the students to discuss the issue of climate change, his response was, "Kids should go to school. We don't support the idea of kids not going to school. What we want is more learning in schools and less activism in schools." Australian Youth Climate Coalition spokesperson Laura Sykes said about Morrison's response, "It was shocking to see our Prime Minister condemning students as young as 8 who were sacrificing a day of schooling to stand up for a safe climate future." The front of Parliament House continues to be a place where people gather to protest against issues. In 2021, women gathered en masse out the front of Parliament to bring awareness to sexual harassment and gender inequality within the Australian political landscape. But remember, if you do want to organise a protest, download the PDF, fill out the form and follow the guidelines. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and in the description below, you'll find a link to my website where you'll find a list of references and links to teaching resources. This is Kelly Chase on The Case. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this video is being recorded today. I pay my respects to the elders and knowledge holders, past, present and emerging.